What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about Bret Weinstein and Evergreen College, all that shit. So, at Evergreen College, it's a liberal arts school up in Washington, publicly funded. Every year, the minority students, of their own free will, decide to get up and leave campus for a day to show how important they are to the community. Seems a bit dumb to me, honestly. Just seems like a bit of attention whoring. Also, kind of a waste of time. Whatever, it's their own free choice. But instead, this year they decided to encourage white students of the school, who might not have anything to do with them, to leave and go to some sort of extracurricular activity off campus, which most likely some sort of bizarre ethno-masochistic pseudo-religious cult meeting, if I had to put some money on it. And also as a way of determining who the real racists were, because all the white people who didn't go there clearly didn't consider themselves good and noble allies, whatever the fuck that's supposed to mean. And Bret Weinstein is a professor, I believe a biology professor. No, he's a biology professor. He protested this. Actually, no, he didn't even protest. He just wrote a letter saying that he disagreed. He says there's a big difference between choosing to do something of your own free will and forcing or trying to encourage other people to do it. A hounding mob of wild SJWs appeared out of the tall grass and decided to berate and harass him, supposedly with the intention of getting him kicked off campus, though it looked like he was about to get his fucking limbs torn off by the looks of it. So yeah, he's I don't know if he's gone back to class now. He's sort of doing the rounds, similar to Jordan Peterson. People have made that comparison. There's definitely a similarity there. I saw him on Dave Rubin, on Tucker Carlson. I think he's going to be on Joe Rogan pretty soon. So if you want to hear more of his story, you can check it out. You check him out. Now, what's interesting about this whole thing, of course, is that, not just that, SJW is going to SJW. I wouldn't have even talked about it, honestly, if that was just the case. But no, the really interesting thing is just how the administration has completely not only failed to act, but has actively tried to acquiesce to their demands, with absolutely no success. You have this terrible, cuckish principal, I think he is, and he really is just kind of cuckish. Like, if there's an image to the word cuck, his face is probably like number 2 on the Google searches. Really high up there. And he's trying to placate this mob, and he's trying to give in to them, and he sets up this big meeting, and he tells them all that, hey, I'm going to do these things for you. I'm going to disarm the police. I'm going to get the police chief, a woman, I think her name's Janice, I forget her name, to come on to the campus without her gun, in uniform, to, I don't know, show how toothless they are. Really, it's a way of politically intimidating, police departments, generally. I would imagine, the police, the security or the police who work at a liberal arts college probably aren't particularly right-wing. But generally, policemen do tend to be more K, they tend to be more slanted to the right. And the institution of law enforcement is an institution that's not under the control of the left, so the leftists, want to control it. And they're going to try to intimidate anyone in police departments who's get in their way. And I imagine this is largely what their intentions were. It's a way of gaining control. So yeah, this administration did nothing to stop them, and apparently the shit just went on for at least a couple days. This is all still fairly new, so to my knowledge, it's either calmed down or it's still going on. I don't know if it doesn't seem to have been resolved by anything I've read. It looks like it's ongoing. There's been a coup at Evergreen College. Social justice has taken over. And yeah, if this was 100 years ago, they would, not 100 years. When was the color revolution in China? That was China, or was that the Great Leap Forward? There's been so many communist mass murders, you just can't keep them straight. But, maybe if this was 60 years ago, the shooting would have already started. The gulags would already be set up. Now, like I said, this is just SJWs being SJWs. Being erratic, threatening people, incoherent, mobbish mentality, anti-male, anti-white, anti-capitalism, just anything that, is not kowtowing to their... here's the interesting thing about social justice warriors, which I've noticed. Everything that's considered normal is, in their eyes, something to be demonized. Like, whatever is considered obscene, they want to normalize, and whatever is considered normal, they want to be disenfranchised. Probably a different video, or subject to a different video. Anyway. Getting on to the main topic I want to talk about is why, after listening to Bret Weinstein, I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, why, although I do feel some sympathy for him, not that much sympathy. He's pretty progressive, generally, and he doesn't seem to understand that his politics are largely the reason that this has been allowed to occur. He believes in institutional privilege. He does think America is institutionally racist. He does seem to consider equity to be a major concerning factor. And after listening to him for a while, and this was particularly on his interview with Dave Rubin, he doesn't think that his sort of larval form of social justice really has anything to do with the wave of far leftism that is racking Western universities, particularly, it seems, American universities at the moment. Now, I'm not trying to say he, as an individual, is responsible for a mob. Like, I'm not trying to say that. But I'm sorry, there's a little bit of culpability here on his part. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'll probably make another video explaining why I was incorrect. I haven't listened to that much, he said, probably like 2.5 hours in total of interview time. So if I'm wrong, I'll correct myself. But yeah, he doesn't connect the dots very well. Because as he said on Dave Rubin's show, he does think that there's institutional racism and that privilege is a real thing. And he didn't go into depths about it. But I would take the liberty of presuming that what he would present is largely, what he would present as evidence for institutional privilege is largely unfalsifiable, because it's not meant to be falsified. He also just really corny shit. Like, he's very corny. He thinks he's anti-racist, which I guess is another interesting perspective I'm getting, or you could get from Bret Weinstein, is that you may as well just say whatever you want. I'm at the point where I just don't care anymore. Like, I'll use whatever slur I want, I'll call people whatever I want. It doesn't make a difference. You may as well just be a real Nazi. Because even if you're an anti-racist, like this guy who brags about how his parents and grandparents raised him with not an ounce of racism, which is, I think, a complete misunderstanding of what racism is. Racism is it's an instinct. It's a way we compartmentalize and organize how we interact with different groups of people. Racism comes from the same part of your brain that eats celery when you're 4 and you fucking hate it, so you don't eat celery again until you're like 25. It's a way of simplifying our interactions by packaging up information that we've gathered and experiences we've had with different groups of people, and using those as a basis to inform us for further interactions. It's something that certainly can get out of control. I'm not saying that you should judge every individual based on what the collective does. I don't believe in that. But saying that his parents raised him to not be racist is, well, it's kind of like saying his parents raised him to not be human. I'm sorry. So yeah, I feel some sympathy for the guy. What's happened to him is pretty bad, and he does seem to have some basic integrity. However, this is just another example in my mind of, kind of either center-left, or I actually wouldn't call him center-left. He's definitely left of center. Of people who, they're mad at SJWs because now they're getting the racist treatment. I'd be interested in asking him, I don't want to put words in his mouth, because I kind of already did, but I don't want to do it again. But I'd be really interested in asking him if he thinks that if there was truth to the accusations the students were making, would that justify their actions at all? And I have a suspicion, and again, this is not his words, clear, I see you YouTube commentators, and not his words, just my suspicion, suspicion, is all it is. But I have a feeling he'd say it would be different, because a lot of the effort I've seen him trying to make is to sympathize with the SJW mob that attacked him. He's trying to empathize with them, trying to say that, you know, they're just kids, they're misunderstood, you know, they just need to listen. It's not all their fault, things like that. And man, that's really naive. It really seems like he was fine with social justice until it bit him in the ass, and now he's kind of mad about it. He's paying the price, and so yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to add to that. I feel bad for him, like I've said a couple times. Shouldn't have happened to him. It's not fair. Doesn't seem like a terrible guy. Seems like a perfectly nice guy to, you know, sit down and have a drink with or whatever. But my sympathy, it's kind of limited at this point. It's just like, listen, man, you know, if you're gonna run around and say there's institutional privilege and stuff, this is the result that you get from that line of thinking. This is the inevitable conclusion people are gonna reach. Also, as a bit of a pet peeve, he completely sort of underhandedly dismissed anything about human biodiversity. Completely. Like, he brought up how he was going to have a biology class about race, and he was going to show how it disproves racism, which, I guess in the interest of fairness, he's the professional, so keep that in mind when you listen to me. But as a layman, based on what I've read and sort of the books that I've written and the interviews that I've listened to and the hours of content I've watched on YouTube and various other websites discussing this, that just seems like a load of horse shit to me. That's not where the evidence stands. That's a pretty small point, not a big deal. Yeah, that's about all I got. Anything else to add? Nope. Take care. Peace.